Hey, 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 hey. Is that better? Oh, this mic is bad. Sorry for that. Echoey. Well, you have to test, 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 test. Is this better? Is this better? New location, all the mics in the old location, and I look like a zombie today. Okay, sound check done. Shall we dive straight in? Uh, First things first. Ice pack, wrist guard, hour. So, cut me some extra slack today. Yes, I'm going out of the way. I'm already. So, on the upside, tons of stuff happened off stream. So, let's do the usual. Let's look at RAR. And actually, let's do a rebase and a push just to be sure. You see in the subtitle over there, Blender for a 3D, 2D game, what the hell, and lots of work files that I'm gonna ignore for the second. Um, mm, I'm not sure if I. So, where? Oh, wrong branch. So, lots of stuff that haven't happened off stream, powered by love. Hey there, whoa, 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 wow. The Prime Gain followed me, Bogdan followed me, Krennic followed me, der Skalierungsbiologe und Amerasani. I butchered all those names, but thanks for all the follows and thanks for being here. So we did a ton of off-stream work, and so imported the standard shaders for fish as we discussed last time. Add a minimal cook strip, gonna go into that in a second. Add a dummy model for the player, and I just wanted two boxes, kind of idle animation, and I went totally overboard with that. But I'm gonna dive into that in a second. Um, and I rendered all of that. So shall we go through it individually? So I mean, so we imported all the standard shaders. Basically, we just copied over the files. I mean, that's literally all copied over the files, so nothing to see here. Um, Added a cook script. Cook script, interesting. So I added the cook script here, which basically calls OMT asset. If you want to know, look up OMT on crates.io, and that's what we use to for content building. Or you could just go here. So basically, we need to use OMT asset to. Where's OMT asset? To convert content into data. Don't want to go into more details today. Um, and a config file, which basically says for these inputs, so this file lives in the shaders directory, so OMT asset starts scanning the directory for asset config, and then says, okay, for all the inputs in here, I call this command, which has this tool and this command, and then the mode is transpile, the output is the output directory, and the input is this file here. Very, very straightforward. So what I can do here is just say, just cook. and then it does all the magic and basically copies a lot of the files around. That's our content cooking, right? Nothing special here. We're gonna look into it a little bit in a second. So, very first player dummy, and as I said, I could have gone 2D here, but what I did is actually this is so small. Can you see this here? This is a palette here, so I'm going to show you on my local file system in a second. It's so small. This is a create palette which uses low-tech pal. I mean, another of. It's just basically a script that creates palettes from colors. So you just give it a color, it adds the color. It can also use color names. It can do gradients, which is super nice. So we created that palette and also created a Blender file. I'm gonna open that in a minute because that turned out actually quite nice. And then did more work in the spoiler here. Basically did more work in the Blender file to render. I added a little idle animation, and that renders both sides and also added transparency. So I'm gonna go into that in a second, and then obviously added a config, basically the same as with the shaders. That combines all of cooks all of these, and then this is the map file, and this is the actual atlas. Maybe we change the size back to small. Create a script to copy all of this out. I'm going to show you in a second. And then I updated the to-do. So where do we start? Let's start at the end, right? So we used to have this ugly circle thingy, and I just this is still 2D. This is just a sprite, so texture, nothing special. If I move right, you see he does a little idle wiggle. I wanted to make the, but I was too lazy, so he's just doing. And I also did the left side, and you can see it's not just mirrored if you look at the hand. Can you see that? Can you see that on stream? So it's actually two different views, and I am not an artist, but this is a nice placeholder, and I know how to work in 3D, so that was easier for me. So before we create the pull request, I want to go over various things. I always click here instead of here. I don't know why. Open the file. So this is using the Riggy, and let's go to this view actually. Let's go to this view, and this is using the Rigify extension, so you have to go to Preferences, Add-ons, search for Rigify, and basically enable it here. Very important. Then you add a rig, and this is not an art stream. I'm not going to explain you Blender. I just go roughly, very quickly over what I did, right? Hey there. So created this nice little model. Where? It's still called cube, right? So let's go into edit mode and what the? Edit mode. That is the rig. I want the cube itself, right? Wait. Where's my... I am in edit mode, right? But I'm in edit mode for the rig, so where did it go? How? What did I mess up? What did I mess up? So basically, I created this rig, the standard. Create a cube here. Create a cube here. Extrude it. Use. Shall we just? Shall we just? Okay. So we don't save this. Basically, I used this cube, right? Went into UV mode. Actually, went into shading. Then and that's where the palette lives, right? So I literally dragged this palette in here, connected this to the base color, and said closest filtering. It's probably a bit small on streaming, right? And then I zoomed in here, select all, scale, press 0, press a button, and then if my screen is not wide enough for this, but if I go here, you can see if I grab this here, I can change the color, right? So technically, we're not really doing any UV mapping. I just said, okay, let's start with the green guy, right? Ignoring the whole rigging part for now, just went all in, right? So let's say, oh, actually, so shift add rig. That was not what I wanted. I never can remember. So edit mode, add. Wait. I forgot what oh. Where's my rig? Oh. Oh, we're in edit mode. I added. Rigify is on. Where is my? So added my rig. Used that as a reference for while modeling. So use the cube. Scale this down. Move it up. Let's scale this down. So roughly the hip bone, right? That's probably not the hip bone, but as I said, I'm not an artist, so something like this. And I always move on the axis, right? So if I look here, this is kind of good. Obviously, I used the mirror modifier, so what you can do is do a loop cut here, just apply that. Oh, I want the lasso select. Just selected this. You could also press 3 and just select this face. And then X vertices. So we have half the box, right? We go into the modifiers, add modifier, add a mirror modifier. modifier, so we have the cube again, and we enable clipping, right? So if I add it here and just, let's go here, right? So if I go to vertex select, grab this, you see it keeps it nice and mirrored, right? Oh, 20 minutes in and I'm still talking about Blender. Wow. And what the clipping does is, if I do this, they kind of stick together in the middle, right? So if I undo this, I have holes, but if I enable clipping, they kind of stick together in the middle. So, and then you can just do 3. So I'm using 1, 2, 3 to go from vertex mode to edge mode to face mode when selecting. I just extrude along the z-axis, right? Z to create the chest here, right? And then I extrude Z to probably go up here roughly. I want some expression around the shoulders. So I extrude again, press Z, probably something like that. Artists get paid gazillions to do this. I'm just doing this as a dummy, right? So, and then same here. So extrude, probably, no, E for extrude, X for the x-axis, get a bit of shoulder here, extrude, probably end around here, then I rotate this and go down here, basically roughly following the mesh, right? Oh, this is not looking nice. And then around the bones, I make sure I have a bit more material to work with, right? I'm not gonna be super nice here. I'm just gonna make it super simple because you can play with this forever, right? So that's the upper body modeled. I mean, so what I can do is I can scale on X. I'll probably scale on this to kind of create it. You get what I mean, right? You get what I mean. And then down here I do the same. So I do extrude along Z. Make it a bit bigger. And then probably let's do an inset. And let's extrude that along the Z-axis until the knees. Add more loops here, obviously, because it's a joint. So right, and then extrude, maybe scale this down a little bit, and you get the basic gist of it, right? Obviously, then you can press Alt-Z to... Why don't I see the rig? Oh. The step I always forget. Actually, generate rig. Oh. Uh-oh. Okay, now I do have the rig. And if I go into... Why is this not transparent? Why can't I see the rig? Okay. So, then there's 2 things you do, right? A, you make sure it fits with the rig. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why. As you can see, I'm not a Blender god, but basically yeah, maybe we should have stuck with this rig for the moment. I'm not sure why it's not visible, to be honest. Not sure what setting I forgot. There's always one, right? This is not a Blender stream, we're going far too deep. So basically what you can do is you go into top view, numpad or something, and then you basically can add this, because you see it's not aligned, the elbows are wrong. So probably I just want to, I want to do this, right, and then rotate this, grab this. I'm not too happy about this one here, to be honest. And then you tweak it until you have it like you want it, right? So that's the modeling part, and eat your heart out. But basically this is the basic form, right? And then what you can do, what I do is you want, okay, let's say I want the pants. I want the pants to be blue, so let's just make this blue. Nice. Let's say I want a belt, so I do Control R, decide where I want the cut to be, and actually I want two cuts, so let's do one. Oops. So Control R, let's do one cut, put it all the way down here, right? Then 3, select, and I'm still struggling with multi-select and stuff, so, and then we do Option E, extrude faces along normals, just pull this out a little bit, so we have a little belt thingy, right? And then make that goldenish, right? And so I create the whole character and tweaked. I mean, for example, what you could do is you could just select all and then do a loop cut here, and then just scale this, and just scale this up a bit to get a bit of roundedness, right? And then you can continue from there, and then you go into, okay, let's tweak individual vertices, and maybe we have like a chest. Right, so let's push that out, and you get where I'm getting at, right? So maybe this, like this, and maybe nope. Getting super nervous when working in Blender on stream. So you do a loop here again. 1. Let's do 2. I mean, not too many, because I don't want too many vertices, but this gives us like a, right? So we can let's be cheap and scale this up a bit, right? So you can play your heart out. And then when you're done, basically, you take this, you take the rig, which we've hidden, and just say, okay, wait, not the light. And I always do this wrong, so if I go into pose mode and just grab this, nope, I did it the wrong way around. So I want the rig. Where's my, oh. So I want my cube and the rig. No, I want the rig and the cube, right? And then I What? What did I just do? I want the cube and the rig. Right, and then with envelope with automatic weights, and then if I go on the rig now has the thing under it, right? The cube under it. If I go into pose mode and just let's grab the hip, then that's basically all I did, and IK is already implemented, right? So I could use the finger doesn't make sense, but I could use the shoulders and just rotate them, right? Maybe it makes more sense if I'm in front view. So this all works. I can Cheval just crashed. I never had Cheval crash on me. What the hell is going on here? What is This is Cheval. This is just the overlay. Usually I have a Raspberry Pi and do it in hardware, but today I stream with OBS. So, or you could for example take the feet, and well, that's the roll of the feet, which is not really helpful. But I can take the feet and make him walk. And you see that there's some certain areas, for example, if you look closely here, where we just don't have enough geometry. But basically, that's all I did. That's all I did. I mean, I did a bit more, so I went into animation. And here's a little trick. So I usually put my dope sheet up here, and actually the dope sheet has an action editor. And then I go into the NLA down here, so the nonlinear animation, so I can do certain tricks, right? So let's say what I want is, I want this shaded because it helps me think. So let's create a new action and call that action idle, right? And my screen is too small. This works much better on smaller screens, right? So let's say we're on position 1 on the idle, and we want a random number of frames, right? A random number of frames, right? So we're in our idle. So what if, let's just say he does a shoulder wiggle, right? So all we do is we select this, we press I, location, rotation, scale, and then what I like to do is to make sure the last frame matches, I actually go to the last frame, which is frame 8, before editing anything, and do that. I mean, if I accidentally forget this, I can always go to this frame, press Ctrl C, so that copies the post to the buffer, go here, press Ctrl V, and then press I to do this. And then let's say somewhere here, he does this, goes to the center, goes back to this, right? So let's say we take this bone and just rotate it a little. It does not make a lot of sense. Let's zoom in so you see what I'm doing. It's just an example, right? So we do this wiggling, and we insert location, rotation, scale, and then we do a trick. So we copy this pose, go here, and then I press Ctrl Shift V. Oh, wait, I copied this, right? Press Ctrl Shift V, and then it's automatically mirrored, so it's going the other direction, right? Let's press I for, and what did I forget? So we do the wiggle to the left, and then wiggle to the right, and then go back to the center, right? So he does the, and you see this super speed modeling here. There's a lot of stuff that's not right, but that's how we can quickly animate some basic ideas. And then what I like to do is I just do this, and then I do push down here. So it's basically the what we saw up here. What we saw up here, right, is one animation, and I want to render all of them in one go. So why don't we create a new one and say, let's call this jump, right? Let's call this jump, and let's say the jump has, I don't know, 20 frames. It's a bit weird that I added here. I'm not an animator, right? So this is the neutral pose, and if it wasn't, you could just press Command R, Command S, Command G to Option RSG to reset. So I want him to jump, right? So how do we jump? So we go down to our knees. So I'm lazy, right? I'm just selecting all and insert keyframes for everything. So step one, probably let's 5 go down, 5 go up, flight phase. So let's go down to our knee, to bend our knees, right? What I will do is I select this, G, Z, oop, that was the wrong bone. G, Z, bend down a lot, right? And then also we do the right. This, select all, insert. I could just add keyframes for the stuff I actually animate, and that would be nicer, but this is baked textures anyway, so I don't give a damn about performance, right? And maybe, just maybe, I grab this and also push this down, and then, right? So this is a go down, and then we go up to frame 10. We basically go, right? So what I will do is, let's see, let's go, let's go up, 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 up. I'm gonna fix the feet in a second. Let's go up, maybe rotate this. There is no hand, but just in case. Go up, rotate this, take both feet, and maybe just for the fun of it, right? So weird jump. I don't care, right? Insert all keyframes. So what we have now is go down, bend, and jump. Physically, probably not even possible, right? And I forgot to do the end frame, so I just do the copy, put it all the way to the end, apply it, right? Insert log rod scale. So and we have our little jump animation, right? So what I could do now, I'm gonna push this down as well, but I want it after the idle, right? So what we got here now is, and I have to be careful because this ends at 28. So the nice thing is, I have the idle and then the jump. I have the idle. The idle is, why is the idle dead? Why did I kill the idle? The jump is working. Did I? Why is the? Oh, we pushed it on a different track. We have 2 tracks. Okay, so we have the idle here. We have the idle here, and then we have the jump. And the nice thing is by having all of these lined up, so we could add the run and the fall and the shoot and the sleep and the idle too. And if I render this now, I get all the frames for all the animations in one thing. And then I do a second trick. So let's go to layout real quick. Let's split this here. Nope. Right, so let's do top, front, side here. Just it's my preferred layout, right? So by the way, mouse wheel to scroll and shift middle button mouse wheel to move. In case you didn't know, let's actually kill this light and kill this camera and then add a new camera. Let's just zero this out for the moment. Right, that's N for the numbers. And basically what I want to do is I want to rotate this, hold control to get exactly to 90 degrees, set this viewpoint to camera, right? Which obviously is gonna do nothing because the camera is in our center. So grab this y-axis, maybe a bit more, right? Grab y, something like this, but it also needs to be moved up. So let's do it like, nope. A bit of tweaking here. We're jumping, so probably just in case to get some extra space. Our post-processing will fix that anyway, right? So that's obviously front view, but we want it side view, right? Because we're stupid. Well, actually we can do dot and pivot. Wait. Wait, we are on median 3D cursor, right? And if we rotate now. Why is our y not 0? Well, no. Why is our y not 0? That's better, right? So we have one side camera and we could render this now, and if I render this out, we get the wiggling, idle, and the jump animation, right? So, whoa, this is not what I wanted to do today. And we can even do this in color. So, and now the interesting thing is, I want both sides, right? And I don't want to mirror them, I want to render both sides. So what I can do is, let's stop this, I can take the camera and duplicate it. I can just copy it and paste it, right? And then I can rotate it 180 degrees, other direction. I think something went wrong there. Why? This is not. So I want to rotate it. I just rotated it 180 degrees, right? Why is? Oh, because our center point was shifted. I forgot how to reset the. I forgot how to. Oh, I cheated. So let's do this again. That's better, right? So we have two cameras. So let's call this camera here, which is the one we're currently viewing, right? View So this is the camera, right? Let's call this camera to right. We could call it right, but then it's like, is it from right or is it going right? Or so let's call this to right. If it lets me, and let's call this to left. Then we do a little trick. So in the render settings, we enable stereoscopy and go multi-view. And then the left camera, it doesn't really matter, we call to left, right? And then the right camera, we call to right. And if I render this now, I'll press F12. Oh, my machine is too small for this. Wait. One more thing, camera, what we want is probably, let's say 128 by 1. We should have done that before setting the camera, because now you see it's all wrong, but let's assume we tweak the cameras to be correct. So if I press F12 now, F12, render. So it might be a bit. So this is the render, right? And we have the stereo view. So if you look at this, we have the right side and the left side, right? Or maybe just for you, we go a bit bigger here. I do this again, right? Render takes a bit longer, but you can see both sides here, right? So, and the nice thing is if I render this out now, so if I go to the render settings and output this now, it's gonna, so what I will also do, RGBA, PNG, that's all fine. And I want individual views, so this is everything I did, right? Let's throw this away, let's open reset, recent, don't save this, do this, right? So we did the UV editing. I'm not sure why I can't go into edit mode on the underlying mesh anymore, which is a bit annoying. Pretty sure there's a shortcut for that, because I want the cube here, right? I want to edit the cube. So edit your model before you do anything. So, but that's how I did it, right? Then I did the animation. And where's my... So I did the same. I don't know why it's not visible. Oh. Basically I just did it for the idle and it goes from frame 0 to frame 8, right? So if you go here, we only have the... I'm not even sure why it's not called idle, but all off script, right? And then we did the layout thing with the dual cameras here, basically the dual cameras here. I did the stereoscopy trick and all of that, and it's working. And then what you end up with, let's not save this. What you end up with is, this was a folder I created in, right? So you end up with the 0002 left and 002 right, and so on, which is not super helpful, right? So I created a minimal script, which is this update animations, which just does some copy and says, okay, from the combined folder, take the stuff that ends with to right, frame 0 to 8, and copy it to player idle right. And then do the same for to left. So copy 000 to right from combined to our player idle right 0, 1, 1, and basically it does some magic, because if we had the jump afterwards, the jump would start with 9, but we still would want it to be player idle jump, player jump right 0, so it does some subtraction magic. Where does it do that? It does it here, so it fixes the offset, right? So all of these get copied to this folder here, with our right naming scheme, right? And you can see this is left and this is right. And you can also see the little jumping there. And then when I do the cook script, so just cook, and then open the data, and we have the player atlas, and that is where all our animations are baked into this one sprite sheet. So whenever somebody wants to tweak the animation, all I have to do is edit the Blender file, press render animation, run the update script, run the cook script, done, it's changed in game. Super cool, isn't it? And that's all I did. We have the player asset config, which basically says, hey, combine all of these into one asset file named player atlas 0. Sorry, with the numbering, we have this magic multi-atlas thingy, which I'm not going to go into today, this size, and that's all. And then, oh, maybe we have the player RAR-RS, and this is going to be interesting because I made sure we actually call the setup correct. So 4 digits, starts at frame 0, ends at frame 88. I don't know why we go for 25 frames per second. I have no idea who decided that was a smart idea. Hey, welcome there. Haven't seen you in a while. Let me try something real quick. Yeah, that's good. So, and then we have the update, which basically in the update idle here, just makes sure the animated textures get updated, right? And I'm not so happy about that structure. But that was basically, I mean, it took 50 minutes to explain an hour of work. Well, maybe 2 hours of work, right? I did track, so I decided to track the amount of time we spent on episodes. So 2 hours on stream, 2.5 hours off stream, and that was a lot of relearning Blender because I haven't touched it in years, and it's Blender 3.2 instead of 2.8 is the last one I used. So, and that's also at the cooking scripts and the standard render effects and yada 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 yada. Oh, I wired up the standard render effects just in case. RAR app. No, I didn't wire up the standard render effects. We still only have these two. And I don't like that it introduces the line breaks. This would look so nice on one line. But if you remember, in the to-do, we want to load that from a config file anyway. That was a long doodle about nothing, right? So, shall we? So, we went over the commits. I showed you how to do it. Got some free Blender lessons in the mix. I'm drinking this juice with psyllium, and somehow I didn't steer it well, so I got this big clump of you don't want to know. Yeah, of you don't want to know. So, in episode 2, right, what I really want to do is create a merge request from that, a pull request. So I want to merge, and we just do this for the stream so you know what's going on offline, right? So we create a pull request with all of that. So we create the pull request so we quickly check that everything is in there and basically oh, that includes the stuff we did on stream last week, right? Last Thursday. So I'm not gonna go into that, but entities, basic entity handling, simple left right for the player. We fixed the formatting. Off stream, the standard shaders we just talked about, the cook script. Did I add the just file? Well, very first model of the dummy player and everything we just talked about, right? Including the little ugly dancing guy, which does not make me very happy. Lots of standard shaders. Just trust me. That's also animated GIF and animated MP4 of. Oh, you can see the preview here. I always like to do that. That's just for people checking in, right? So lots of copied code, more assets, and in an ideal world, these baked assets would not live in the build, but for faster development, I just like to have them pre-baked in the repository. If we had like a cooked data cache that is shared between people, that would be easier, but that's something I'm going to implement in like 5 games when we have a team of 10 players here. Basically, if the source asset work file changes and the artist exports and commits the new version, it triggers a whole process so everybody gets it. Because you don't have to bake it for. I mean, in this case, the baking is easy, but the baking could do something like a light map, which could take days. So we don't want to redo this. Enough blabbering. Let's create this pull request. For episode 2, let's create the pull request. And if continuous integration would be set up, I would wait till it cleanly builds. It has no, and if this was not my pull request, I would review it now, but we went over it twice already today, so we're just gonna merge this, right? Bam, in. So everything we did last week plus everything I did off stream is in, right? So if I do a git fetch here and a git check out main, and then do a git rebase, we are on main, right? So if I look at this, so okay, so here we see all the changes we did for episode 2, and we're back on mainline. I mean, all that. I didn't show you the just file. I did not show you the just file. Sorry about that, but basically, little dancing guy, little idling guy, and maybe we do the run animation, the walk cycle, but I don't want to focus on that at the moment. I want to drive some other things first. So I'll do animation off stream because I suck. I'm not an artist, and all of this is just dummy placeholders, right? All of this, once we have kind of a game and an idea where this is going, we kind of, maybe we don't. Mayhaps we don't. But this is done by an artist, right? And the artist is, so I don't want to go into that. What I do, oh, the just file. So the just file. It basically just R is cargo run release, just FMT is cargo nightly format, and cook is just go one directory up, run the cook script, and go back. And technically the last cook is not, and all that does is call OMT asset with the right parameters, right? And it also creates this nice pack. It doesn't even create the pack list yet, so we have to. That never was implemented at OMT asset, that it automatically does the data packing, or at least updates the pack list as needed and creates the RAR-RS, which is not implemented, which is makes me slightly sad. Maybe that's something. Do we want to have standalone binaries? Do we want asset files? Too much. Okay. So tons of windows and scripts and helpers, and before I go down this rabbit hole, let's create a new branch for the new stream, right? It was what was the branch names? Was it uppercase or lowercase? Failed to load latest commit information. You just, so it's episode dash 0003, right? we have a new branch. So what do we do with it? I must admit, just like the overlay says, I have no idea. So let's okay, that's our work files. Maybe I'm not sure if I want them in the repo because they're so simple to. Let's ignore them, right? So let's ignore this. Mm, right. And also, let's just does it work like this? Yeah. So all Blender backup files are also ignored. So um, ignore work files. Ignore some work files, right? We just don't want the repository to blow up. And is it work files? Well, hey, we have a commit, right? Nicey. It's silent here. I'm not sure why. Did my audio fail? No, it's okay. Okay. So as I said, I have no idea what's next. So one thing I would like to look into is we could look into the player RS because obviously we have an idle right now, right? And then we have a running, and then we have a jumping, and then we have a falling and a dying, and this becomes quite unwieldy to have it like this, right? So I want basically a state machine that says, okay, so so basically what could the states be? There's a state idle, right? And I could go to walking or running, because basically let's call it running, right? Because we don't walk, we run, and then this could go both directions, but we can also go into jumping. But the idle can also go into jumping, right? Right, and can we go from jumping to idle? No, we can't. So basically this is a state machine. This is finite state machine, right? Because we have a finite number of states, and Google it. There's tons of literature written about it, and I'm not even gonna save it. So how do we model this in Rust, right? Right now we have a player state enum, and I'm not sure I want that, because how do we do transitions, right? We have this go to state, and that's basically, I don't like this because we have this match, and then we have the state, and then we have the idle and the dying, and I am not so noisy here. I'm so sorry. I'm having a hard time focusing. So this gets pretty messy fast, right? So this says kill goes to state dying. Maybe you cannot die. Maybe it should just say send event die, and then if we're already dying, we don't die again, or if we're invincible, we don't die, or if you're just respawning, we don't die, or if it says jump, but we already fly in the air, it doesn't jump unless we have the double jump. So, and also the update, we have update waiting for start and update idle, and maybe the update should just update the state, and I'm not sure how to model this in Rust, to be honest. I'm tempted to use enums for that, but maybe it's more like a trait. Maybe player state is a trait. But then how do we get from one state into another? How do we get from one state into another? And this is, I'm winging at this as we go and trying to ignore the noise in the next room. So, the thing is, the states have data, right? The states do have data. Maybe I'm overthinking this. I think I have to I'm leaning towards, I'm thinking about something. What if we have a struct player state idle, right? And we have a struct player state running, right? And maybe we had a trait player state, right? And that trait had a function handle event, for example, right? And then we have an enum player event for the lack of anything, right? Right? And a player event left, right? So edge, and we have a stop, right? Just for the sake of it. So what if this got an event, player event, and returned a new player state, and the default implementation just says we return self, right? So, and then we do, it's just an idea, so we implement, I'm not sure if this is, can we do this? I'd love to prototype this. I'd love to prototype this somewhere outside of this project. So I'm probably going to do 5, 6 versions off stream, but basically what if we implemented player state for player state idle, right? And then we have a function handle event that returns a player state, right? And then we say, okay, match event, and the default is just return self, right? But if this event is player state right, let's say we get it right, then what we could do is we could return a player state running, right, with some data. And if it's left, I'm wondering if this is a good idea. Because this would mean, we have a player state, and only the state itself knows how to, it's nice encapsulated, right? The idle doesn't even care about this stop. If I'm idle already, I don't give a damn if you want me to stop, right? And then the running, maybe it could be running right, left. I'm a bit hesitant to kind of, I'm a bit hesitant to model running right and running left, because that feels like it's the same plus a direction. So what if the player state running? What if this had a direction, right? What if this had it, and I think we already have a player direction, right? So we have a player direction. Oh, we have an impl for, oh, we don't even have an impl, right? So what we could do is we could say, in this case, direction is player direction right. And in this case, it's left, correct? And then the player state has an update, right? And the update just gets the entity update context, yeah? Oh, we forgot to pass in this self, right? So what if the update this actually gets a self, right? This consumes the self and just passes. If nothing happens, it just passes it through, so should be safe. I mean, this is not going to work because we have some conflicts now, and I updated Rust so this compile, but does this make sense to you? I want one state to handle one state, and if we add a new state, we don't have to add any, well, we have to add the transitions, and this is basically a transition here, so this conflicts now with because we have the player state up here, right? This is so hard for me, right? We're hack patching this now. I'm not sure even if we're gonna go this direction. Did we catch all of them? Oh, this is and they could render themselves, and we could make that. Here's the thing. Do we want to hard code this at compile time, or should this come from a config file? Okay, so this is now a real error, right? So this actually needs to be done. This needs to be done. Is that all? Oh, we forgot more of these, right? So I hope now I got them all. Yeah, we don't match on we match on the player event, right? Match on the player event, sorry. This is just a wild idea, and that outside there is really, oh, more player state old that I missed. .205, right? 215. Wait. That should be correct, right? I hack patched it. This noise out there is currently. Oh, yeah, I mean, this obviously was a bit, this is direction, right? I wonder if this approach is a good idea. Handle event. I don't want to borrow. Hmm. We can't do this. I mean, that's an interesting suggestion. I'm just gonna do this for the fun of it. Right, this, okay. So this doesn't work. So git reset heart. Oops. So I like the idea in principle, but maybe I maybe maybe this is more something we configure, right? What if we had a state machine? What if we had a state machine and when we set up the player, it's basically I don't need one per instance, right? I just need one. So I could have something like let mute state machine equals state machine new, and I could say sm at at state, and the state is idle, right? And then sm at state running, right? And then sm dot add transition from idle to running sm at event. Let's say we have an event right? And then we say, okay, valid events are right and left. How about something like this? Left, and by the way, here's a closure that handles this transition, right? When this transition is handled, do this. Maybe this could get a state up. Is this what we want? Is this actually what we want? And obviously this would be self.sm, or at least self.sm equals sm equal, right? State machine. But this closure here, well, it doesn't need to capture anything, right? It could just say, hey, I get a player Mutable reference, right? Maybe not even that, maybe it doesn't need that. That would be another option of doing this. I'm not 100% sure how to model this, to be quite honest. I mean, the main thing, I don't want this, right? I don't want to update left and right in idle, and I don't want all this boilerplate. This is gonna be interesting. So, to do, decide how to model an entity state. And I don't know. We played through different variants. I kind of like this variant a little. I'm not sure I want player in here. And the problem is this transition here is independent of player, the entity, right? It's generic. So maybe this could be entity, because we might have AI, right? So, and maybe this is an entity state machine, right? And maybe the states here have a update, closure, and a running closure, right? Maybe. Update, running, yeah, running, render. I mean, if this was OO, probably the base entity would just have a state. And you could say self at state, maybe. I mean, every entity has exactly one state machine, right? So player is an entity, right? Player is an entity. So what if entities can't have data? I mean, we can use the data and then get the entity data and oh, we've been down that route before. I mean, so we just say self at state. I mean, the nice thing is about enums, they're runtime checked, compile time checked, right? Well, the string approach here is runtime checked, but the runtime checked version is much more flexible. I'm like, I am not sure how to model this. I'm not sure. I have to think about that. So, what we're gonna do is gonna do the reset here. So we're back to, this is one I want to keep. So, the thing is, I want to add a running animation here, right? And I want to add jumping. And for that I need to solve that problem, so both of these are kind of postponed for the moment. Sorry, impossible to focus here right now. Just impossible to focus. So, yes, we didn't do a lot. Well, I showed you the Blender stuff, right? And I think that's pretty cool. Maybe we just hard code the running stuff in. Maybe forget the whole state machine stuff, right? Maybe, maybe not. My brain is rattling how we could, I mean, so, but there are two other things I really want to get rid of, right? So for example, we have the player in here, and I really, really don't want that. I do not want the player in here. So remember in Fish, we had this entity manager thing that owned all the entities and didn't render or update them. Oh, we had the iterator that did the rendering and updating, right? So the Fish app had the entity manager. No? Who owned the entity? Oh, the game. Okay. Okay, so that's an interesting split, right? Because we have the app, and the app has the game, which is interesting. This is a good one. This is a good one. Let's do this abstraction, right? And it has a. I'm not sure why it has a RC ref cell to a game, because technically. Technically. Because it's it could just be an option of game, right? I'm not sure why we had this weird way of doing this. I mean, here oh, okay, because multiple places shared that. For example, the UI kept a copy of that. Maybe it doesn't need to. Do we want to game state? We have a menu and we have a game, right? So we have multiples. We have the intro, we have the pre-game menu, we have the game itself, we have the game results, we have the go back to the game menu, and maybe we have the credits, right? Game state. Let's implement game state. That's a good one, right? That's a good one. And I'm just gonna tease what we're gonna do, because I have about 10 minutes left. So implement basic game states. e.g. intro, menu, game, credits, etc. Right? So, and that goes straight into RAR, right? So touch source RAR. Yes, long term this should come with OML game, but game state, right? Game state. So in RAR.RS I say mod game state, and I say pop use game state, right? And then obviously in game state I have a trait. Is it a trait? It's a trait game state, right? And that has a fn and getter for the name. Just for now. Just for now. Lifetimes, we'll work it out, right? Right? Oh, wait. Aren't traits always? So we have this trait, right? And then when we go into the app, actually I want to say use EFG, use create RAR game state, right? Even if it's not used right now. And then what if, let's ignore the manager, right? Let's not do a manager. Let's say we always have a game state, right? We always have a game state, and that means we need a game state. And let's just model the game state game right now, right? So we have a game state game. Game state, game. I like game state game more than game state. So we have a game state game, right? And that's struct game state game with a new that returns a self, and that's a self that has nothing. And then we implement game state for game state game, and that has a name, right? So we implement function name self string reference game state game. Don't mind the formatting, and this is basically use create RAR game state, right? Because we have, thank you for the broken auto, we have to have the, and this obviously here. This for the moment. Good that was a touch. Oops. Really? I'm getting tired. Well, you could have told me something was odd. Right? That's better. And this is Dune, obviously, in RAR.app. So this probably is a box, right? Do we want this boxed? So I want this to be a box for game state, right? And then game state is box new game state game new. And game state game is not in scope, so we get it into scope, right? Oh, box Dune. And that struct is obviously private. Could be pub crate, I don't care too much at the moment. And the new, because I was thinking I was implementing a trade. So we have this, right? So let's say this also has a function setup, right? And a function tear down. We keep the object, but we clean up the innards. Nothing to see here, right? Nothing to see, but that means we can do this and I don't want to make this an option, to be honest. But basically we could have the player in there, right? What if we give it an update? What if the game state gets an update? Yes, I know. Gets an update and it gets a render, right? It gets a render with a renderer, right? Yes, scope, I know, but so self.renderer. Can you just, so this is just a renderer, right? And this is a mutable renderer. This is a renderer, not a render. Right? This obviously needs some lovin', because window update context. We only need the update context, not the window itself. Right? This is a bit of housekeeping. When you get stuck, always do a bit of housekeeping. And we have the renderer. Right? So we have this, just because we know we will need it. So all of this is fine. So what the app does in update, somewhere at a smart position. So basically where we do this, right? Where we do this, we say self dot game state dot update, and we just pass in the book, right? Is it VOOC at that point, or is it window update context? It's VOOC. And we don't have to declare it mutable reference because it already is, right? And then in the renderer, where we do the actual player rendering, we do self.gamestate.render renderer. Does nothing at the moment, but just run. Still working, right? So I'm gonna move the implementation for setup tier. I'm gonna just copy those over, right? And then I want to get rid of the player, right? So I want to get rid of this player here. So we want a player. There will be more. We want a player in this. I hate that it collapses empty structs, right? Because I don't like that look at all. So we need to import the player. Where's the player? So probably too much, but we do the cleanup later. So I want the player. So I don't want this player here. It's gonna mess up the formatting anyway, right? So let's do this. The atlas we load globally, right? I mean, do we? We could. We could. We could also move the entity configuration manager, right? Because we technically only need that in game state game. For now, yes, I know we're wrecking the system. But that means setup will need the system, right? We're wrecking the system, yeah, that will need the system because we're loading the config file, right? So this is, for example, this. Let's see how far this goes, right? So we need this, we need this, and we need this goes into the setup, right? This goes into the setup. Yes, I know we need system. Bear with me. We're gonna add system, and tear down is just tear down, right? Tear down is just tear down, no magic there. Update is the whole player thing, right? The entity update context, the player thing, the player update. All of this goes in here, right? And it probably goes even deeper into the entity manager thingy. This is, we have a window update, we have a OIG, player direction. Yeah. And in the render, we just do the same thing here. We move the render into the renderer. A bit of cleanup is always nice, right? Technically, I don't need to format this, but this means setup needs system, right? There's no way around it. And we we probably need to get player into scope. Where is player coming from? Wait. Missing field player. Okay. We do have player in scope, right? Yeah. Oh, we need to bring the entity in scope for the trait. And that's the system, right? Oh, again, obviously we renamed this. So I want to go down to the step where we only need systems. So we need to clean some of those warnings soon. Yes, you're right. So this just uses system, right? So we need to pass in system, mutable system. And that means we have to change the trait to do that. And that means we have to import system. We have to import system. And obviously the calling place now is wrong, right? To be fixed. Wait. We never called setup, right? We never called setup and tear down. So here, self dot game state dot setup, right? And here it's self dot game state dot tear down. On state transitions, we have to do some magic as well. Shall I just R? Will this still work, or did we completely break it? Oh, nice. I think this is a nice note to commit this. So yes, to do always. We added the game state. We did the formatting. Okay, I'm sorry about this. We actually removed the entity config manager and the player and replaced it by game state, which is good because this is much cleaner. A lot of cleanups to this file, a lot of stuff removed that doesn't really belong there, and obviously we have to add the two new files. So why can't I type episode? Start to extract game state game. This is not what I wanted to do. I wanted to look into the state machine for the player, but maybe, I mean, the game state machine is a state machine in itself, so maybe, just maybe, that's a good start. And cleaner code is always nice. So with that, I let the wiggling guy wiggle. I really wonder, I want a bigger thingy, because this is super tiny. I suppose my screen's just turned off because I hit the 10-hour mark. With that, I'm sad to say goodbye, and I probably won't be able to do it on Thursday because I'll be on a plane flying to, I'm not gonna tell you. You know, who you are. Love you all. Stay safe. No raid today. I just need to get out and have some food. See ya.